7.5 Rational exponents and radicals. A radical is something such as a square root. So looking at radicals, basically we write that to an exponent that's a fraction. So the square root is going to be the equivalent to raised to the 1/2 power. Third root is going to be raised to the 1/3 power. So for the first one, taking the long way of simplifying it, going back to probably pre-algebra, we have the square root of 8x to the 4th, y to the 7th. Expanding that, writing it as primes, we get 2 times 2 times 2 times x times x times x times x times y times y times y times y times y. There's 7 y's there. And when we take the square root, the idea is we pair them into groups of 2. So what you can see then is from the two 2's, we have one pair of 2's, we have 2 pairs of the x's, and we have 3 pairs of y. However, we have the 2 left over and the y left over. So we pull out a pair of 2's, we pull out the 2 pairs of x's, we pull out the 3 pairs of y, and we're left with a 2 and a y under the radical. Another way of looking at this is from the exponential values. So what we have is from the statement that says above is the square root is raised to the 1/2 power. So we have 8x to the 4, y 7th, all raised to the 1/2. Since everything's multiplied, we can distribute the 1/2 to each of those terms. 8 to the 1/2, x to the 4th to the 1/2 is 2, and 7 times 1/2 is 7/2. We then can take 8 and write that as the third. So 2 to the 3rd is equal to 8. So that gives us 2 to the 3/2 power, x squared, y to the 7/2. Next, we take each of those improper fractions and write them as mixed numbers. 3/2 is 1/2, and 7/2 is 3/2. That means then what we have is we have a 2 to the 1, and x squared, and y to the 3. Again, the 1 and the 3 come from the mixed number. Now what we have is we have the half of the 2 and the half of the y. And based on the property then, we have those roots under, so we have the square root of 2y. So the final answer is 2 times x squared, y to the 3rd, multiplied by the square root of 2y, which is the same thing we had on the left. For the next example, we have write the 4th root of 16x to the 3rd. So we rewrite the 4th root to a 1/4, then we expand to get the 16x to the 3/4 by distributing the exponent. We then have 16 to the 3/4 and x to the 3/4. Again, we can take 16 as 2 to the 4th to the 3/4. And again, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. Now we have to distribute the exponent, so 4 times 3/4, the 4's cancel out, giving us 2 to the 3rd. We cannot further simplify x to the 3/4, so we just bring down the x to the 3/4. So we simplified it into exponential form. The section's a bit confusing, but with a lot of practice, you'll all eventually get it.